During the Christmas holidays, 21-year-old Lucy Partington was a university student who went home to her mother's house to celebrate the holiday. On December 27th, Lucy went to visit her disabled friend and left to catch a bus shortly after 10 p.m. She was abducted from a bus stop along the A435 when she crossed paths with Fred and Rose West. Just like Carol Ann Cooper, she was tortured for about a week before they murdered, dismembered, and buried her in Fred's construction projects. Fred would be admitted into the casualty unit of the Gloucester Royal Hospital on January 3, 1974, for a serious laceration on his right hand that it is believed he sustained while dismembering Lucy Partington's body. Carol Ann Cooper and Lucy were reported missing, but there wasn't anything tying the girls to the Wests. 21-year-old sociology student Therese Sigenthaler was abducted by the Wests as she hitchhiked from South London to Holyhead in April 1974. Fred would refer to her as Tulip. She was reported missing to Scotland Yard by her family in Switzerland when their daughter broke communication off from them. In November 1974, 15-year-old Shirley Hubbard would go missing from a bus stop. The foster child was on her way home after a date with her boyfriend, whom she had promised to meet the next day. Juanita Mott had been a former lodger at 25 Cromwell Street, but happened to be living with a family friend when she mysteriously disappeared in April 1975. It is believed that she was abducted as she hitchhiked along the B4215. Astoundingly, even with these events, Fred still continued to attract the authorities' attention with his frequent stealing and fencing. But for him, he had to steal and sell the stolen goods to fund his home improvement projects. They were necessary in keeping his and his wife's sadistic hobby a secret. In 1977, the Wests enticed a 14-year-old girl, only known as Miss A by the courts, from a home for wayward girls. She stated that at Cromwell Street, she was led into a room with two naked girls who were prisoners there. Miss A witnessed the torture of the girls and was raped by Fred and sexually assaulted by Rose. Between Fred and Rose, she would also state that Rose was the most aggressive of the two. It is believed that one of the girls the young girl saw was most likely Anna Marie. Anna was a constant target of Fred and Rose's. As if it wasn't enough that she was raped and tortured by her own father, he would also bring home his friends to have sex with her. From the age of 13, her father and stepmother would force Anna into prostitution within the household. The clients were told that she was 16, and Rose would always be present in the room when the clients were there. Again, this wasn't done for the welfare of the child, but was to ensure she did not reveal her true age to her client. When Anna Marie was 13 or 14, Rose would take the young girl to a local pub where she insisted she drink several glasses of barley wine. Hours later, Fred showed up at the pub to pick up Rose and Anna Marie. When they left the premises, Anna was thrown into her father's van and then viciously beaten by Rose, who asked her, "Do you think you could be my friend?" before she was sexually assaulted by her father and stepmother. During the year 1977, the upstairs of the Cromwell residence had been remodeled to allow more lodgers. One of these lodgers was 18-year-old Shirley Robinson, who was a former prostitute known to be bisexual. While living in the home, she developed a relationship with both Fred and Rose. She would soon learn that she was pregnant with Fred's baby. Fred wasn't necessarily happy about the pregnancy, but he was ecstatic about his wife carrying a mixed child. But Rose was greatly unhappy that Shirley was carrying Fred's child. This posed a problem in their relationship. She made it very clear to her husband that Shirley had to go. In December 1977, Rose gave birth to her daughter Tara, who was half black. And by May 10th, 1978, almost exactly a month before her due date, Shirley was murdered, dismembered, and buried in the rear garden with her unborn child. This time, the fetus was also dismembered. In November 1978, Rose and Fred had another daughter, Louise. The growing family now had 6 children. In 1979, Fred impregnated his daughter, Anna Marie. However, she had an ectopic pregnancy, meaning that it occurred in her fallopian tube, and needed to have the pregnancy terminated. Only a few days after she was released from the hospital, Anna Marie would receive a severe beating from Rose to the stomach. She ran away to live with her boyfriend after this incident. The West children weren't dumb or blind when it came to the things occurring in their household. They knew Rose was a prostitute and that Anna Marie was being raped by their father. But when Anna Marie moved out, Fred needed a new target. He would then focus on Heather and May. In August 1979, 16-year-old Allison Chambers would suffer the same fate of the other girls who had the misfortune of crossing paths with Fred and Rose West. Allison had been placed in foster care at the age of 14 and would constantly run away from Jordan's Brook house. She had become acquainted with the Wests in mid-1979. Fred would later claim that she died as a result of Rose becoming too bloody vicious with her. In June 1980, Rose gave birth to Fred's second son named Barry. She would give birth again in April 1982 to Rosemary Jr., who was not Fred's child. Another baby was born in July 1983 named Luciana, who was half black. With there being so many children in the household, Rose became more and more irrational and would beat the children without reason. The frequency of the abuse that Heather and May endured increased when they reached puberty. Their father was remorseless in his conduct and would frequently justify his actions by stating, "I made you. I can do what I like with you." Interestingly, something that he stated his father said also. On at least one occasion, he revealed that he intended to impregnate both Heather and May. He would also force his children to watch porn with him from time to time. Heather, May, and Stephen were relatively close in age, so the 3 of them formulated a plan that if Fred asked either of the 2 girls to be alone in a room with him, they would only do so with at least one other member of the 3 present. This plan was to avoid either girl being raped. Both girls also would not undress or shower if their father was home. If Fred was at home, then one sister would stand guard at the door. If it wasn't bad enough that the girls would constantly receive this abuse from their own father, Stefan was informed that he would have to have sex with his mother by the age of 17. Both Heather and May were repulsed by their father, but they were very different in the way they handled the situation. And I am in no means stating that in a negative way toward either victim because everyone responds to any type of situation differently. And I can't imagine the mental state that this puts anyone through. Fred once threw a vacuum cleaner at May when she protested against her father fondling her. She developed this mechanism where she would tolerate him groping her, then jokingly brush aside any efforts he made to take the assault any further. But Heather was different. She was deeply affected by all of it, and rightfully so. It is highly speculated in 1985 or 1986, Heather was forced to engage in intercourse with her father. It was around this time that she started developing the classic symptoms of child abuse victims. She would bite her nails until they bled. She drank alcohol. She would keep a watchful eye in her periphery if her father was in the room. She showed a sign of weariness in the company of males. She would constantly wake up from nightmares. And she would repeatedly bounce back and forth while she sat in a chair. But Fred and Rose did not perceive this behavior as signs of child abuse. Instead, they believed that Heather was a lesbian, and they would taunt her with it. It was stated that Fred never really liked Heather and would refer to her as ugly and a bitch. Heather would go to her mother telling her of the things her father did to her, but Rose would simply laugh at her. Heather would express to May and Stephen that she wanted to run away from home, living a nomadic lifestyle in the forest of Dean, and never see another human being ever again. Eventually, the secrets going on in the home were about to come to light. Heather would complain to friends about the abuse she and her siblings went through. Many of her friends would also recollect many of the distressing signs she exhibited. She was a studious and obedient child at school, but staff at her secondary school became concerned when she refused to change her clothing for or shower after sporting activities. One day she was forced to take a shower with many of her classmates. And staff, noticing that her arms, legs, and torso were covered in welts and bruises, all in different stages of the healing process. She would try to explain these injuries away as having received them during fights with her siblings. However, she would confide in one of her close friends that all of the injuries were inflicted by her parents. She would also tell her friend that her mother called her a little bitch who deserved her beatings. By 1986, rumors of Rose's work as a prostitute had reached many of the West children's classmates. While the West children were explicitly instructed to never discuss details of their home lives to any of their classmates or school staff, Heather confided to one of her friends that many of the rumors were true. And you know how that goes. Once one person knows something, the entire school will know about it by lunch. It just so happened that the father of one of her classmates was a friend of the West's. So, Fred and Rose soon knew that Heather had divulged some of their dirty secrets to her classmates. Her father was very concerned by this and began escorting Heather to and from school. But not long after that, Heather left school in 1986 and began applying to various jobs so she could escape her parents. In June 1987, she had placed all of her hopes on getting away on a job as a chalet cleaner at a holiday camp in Torquay. Unfortunately, she would receive a notification on June 18th, 1987, that her application wasn't successful. She crumbled into tears in front of May and Stephen. Her family could hear her crying throughout the night as she tried to sleep. On June 19th, her siblings claimed she was back to her usual self. She was looking miserable, biting her nails, and sitting on the couch, bouncing back and forth as she sat. Her siblings would then leave for school. But when the West children returned home, they were told Heather left to accept the job that she had previously been refused. Rose would also tell other family members about Heather's change in luck. However, she would tell a neighbor that she and her daughter had a hell of a row, and she ran away. Many of the West children would ask why Heather hadn't contacted them or visited them, to which the parents claimed that Heather had eloped with a lesbian lover. May and Stephen became increasingly anxious by Heather's sudden disappearance and suggested that maybe they should report it to authorities. But their father told them that by doing so, they would get their sister in trouble with the law, as she was involved in credit card fraud. After Heather's disappearance, Fred would jokingly threaten his children that they would end up under the patio like Heather if they misbehaved or told anyone outside the home how badly they were treated. Fred asked his 13-year-old daughter, Louise, to bring some bottles to a room on the first floor of their home in May 1992. Shortly after this, the girl's siblings heard her scream, "No, don't!" Later, Fred returned downstairs. The West children found Louise writhing in pain. She told them through sobs that their father raped and sodomized her, and at one point partially strangled her. Later, when her mother returned home, Louise confided in her about what happened. Rose stated, "Oh well, you were asking for it." Over the following weeks, Louise would be raped 3 more times, with Rose witnessing one of them. She followed her distressed and bleeding child into the bathroom and asked, "Well, what did you expect?" Fred would also film one of these rapes. Louise would eventually confide what her father did to her to a close friend. This friend told her mother, who in turn anonymously tipped off authorities.